Welcome back to another episode of the West Dakota Dad. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to me. If you have the time and are able to do so, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, a rating, or a review. Whatever it is, it helps me to reach out to more and more people. And of course, I'd be very grateful for that. I have to apologize to begin with because I am battling some allergies right now. There's a bunch of smoke in the air. There's harvesting going on, so if I sound a little bit nasally, that is why. So you'll just have to kind of bear with me for today. But we're going to be talking about the Olympics. And those of you that know me personally or have been following my podcast know that I'm a big sports fan. And the Olympics, with the build-up of every 4 years for Summer Olympics and also Winter Olympics. And as the person that gets to watch them, it's every 2 years. Just depends if it's Summer or Winter Olympics. There's so much build-up and excitement that goes into watching these world-class athletes perform on the world's largest stage. There's so many different competitions that it's always fun to watch and see, up-and-coming people just push the limits on whatever they're doing to achieve greatness. It's so exciting. There's always some of my favorite things about the Olympics is, one, I love the backstories of some of the athletes, of how they just persevered throughout their life and worked so incredibly hard to get to where they're at. That's always something super exciting to watch for. But my favorite thing ever is when you see that gold medal athlete standing on top of the podium. And and of course I'm a little bit biased because I want it to be the Americans, but it doesn't matter who it is. Who's ever on top there, you see their country's flag rising, their national anthem playing. You see their face just become filled with emotions of achievement, joy, happiness, and just self-accomplishment that, sometimes they get a little bit emotional, and it's just great. Michael Phelps was one I thought he always, especially towards the end of his career, you just saw that he just soaked in every single moment of it, and it was awesome. And this year, you see some of the other swimmers and get pretty emotional too. You're just so happy for them, And then it pans over to the family, who they're all crying. You got the moms, the dads, the husbands, the wives, the kids, whatever it is. They're all just so happy for that person standing on top of the gold medal stand. Gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Now, obviously, the Olympics are not over yet per this recording. We are about halfway through it. And so here's what has gone down so far. Currently, Caleb Dressel broke 2 world records and came home with 5 gold medals. And these are all going to be for the U.S., by the way. Katie Ledecky wins the first 1,500-meter freestyle swim for women and has earned herself 2 golds and 2 silvers. And a fun fact that they had before, I can't remember before what race it was, but she had swam, they had all of her logged swims or whatever throughout her entire life, and she swam 21,000 miles up until that point. I think they said it was enough to go all the way around Africa and up to Tokyo or something like that. I can't remember, but just ridiculous amount of miles. But she won 2 golds, 2 silvers. Chrissa Moore from the U.S. has won the first ever gold medal in surfing, and skateboarding made its debut in the Olympics, which was pretty exciting, especially because my generation probably grew up with Tony Hawk and then Tony Hawk Pro Skater on the video games and everything. So he made ripples throughout the world with skateboarding. And unfortunately, even though he never got to compete in the Olympics, he was there, showing how excited he was that skateboarding was finally in the Olympics, especially since snowboarding has been in the Olympics for a while. So that was pretty neat to watch. But the biggest story so far has to be the Simone Biles withdrawing from events and everything. She withdrew from 4 events total here. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 or 5. Anyways, she withdrew from the team final, which her teammates were able to perform very well. They took silver without Simone. Individual all around was awarded to Suni Lee, who was with the U.S. She won the gold. Vault, which the U.S.'s alternate, Michaela Skinner, she won the silver. The uneven bars, Suni Lee won bronze. And floor exercise, Jade Carey, the coach's daughter, the other alternate for the Olympic gymnasts, U.S. Olympic gymnasts, won gold. So the other athletes really got to flourish, and it was awesome to see them perform top and win some golds and basically be on the podium. But Simone did end up coming back, and she won bronze on the balance beam. Now, not to say that, because Simone withdrew, that these other players were able to, or other gymnasts were able to have a chance, which that's never what it was. It was always about Team USA. Even though Simone has proven to many people that she is the best ever, it shouldn't have been just about Simone, because these other girls work just as hard as her and has trained with her and everything. So it was really cool to see them also get some big recognition. But moving back to the Simone Biles thing, I feel like the initial reaction was a lot of negativity. People did not take it very well. There was comments like she's a national embarrassment, she's weak, she's a shame to the country, and the one that really irked me was, sorry Simone Biles, but there's nothing heroic or brave about quitting because you're not having fun. And that just really annoys me. I think the one thing I did really appreciate, though, was how much overwhelming support came shortly after, especially her, shortly after her decision was made. Because there was athletes that were totally backing her up. They're like, yeah, we completely understand it. And there was a lot of people that were having her back, which I think is great. But the negativity that bothers me is people instantly you could just see how they got so angry so quickly. And without even putting themselves in her shoes. We don't know what every person's going through. And we often react in a way that we do know what they're going through. Simone is like the world's greatest gymnast ever, and so therefore she's proven it. She has that on her back. Like some of the pressures that she goes through, less than 1% of us in the world will ever get a chance to experience. I mean, I personally don't ever see myself having the entire world like either rooting for me or cheering against me to perform at the Olympics ever, or just in anything. Like, I don't think I'll ever experience that. So I can't imagine what that kind of pressure is like. Some of the other pressures that either I kind of thought of myself, or maybe she has mentioned, was the weight of the world on her shoulders, like I had kind of mentioned, for being the best gymnast. There was one that I thought that maybe might have played factor, was she was not being awarded full points for some of her routines because of the difficulty of them, and if other competitors perform them, it could be dangerous for them, which I think is not right, because Simone has proven that a human can do it. So therefore, if you're able to do it, why wouldn't you be awarded full points for it? My opinion. She had mentioned her family was not physically there, and that was hard, and I can pretty much agree with that, because there's nothing you could say all you want, but when you're talking on a screen, it's not the same as when you're physically there and you can actually touch them, you can hear them, you can hold them, and then that how much just that physical touch can actually take away stress, So she was off on some of her routines in the qualifyings, and even though I'm not an Olympic judge, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a longtime gymnast fanatic, because I kind of only watch it when it comes to the Olympics, because I also don't know where else to watch it. Maybe someone can help me out with that. But, the announcers will kind of tell you what to look for and everything, and they'll kind of tell you like, oh, that might be a 1/10 of a point off or something like that. But you could tell that she wasn't really on all of her routines on her best performances, because, some of her landings were a little bit off. She took a couple steps back. She wasn't sticking, whatever it is. But you could kind of tell that something was going on. And maybe there was also the back of the head pressure from her former trainer, Larry Nasser, and the abuse that he had on all those Olympic gymnasts. That could be a factor. But one of the things was after some of this was over, she had mentioned that her aunt had passed away. It's like, let's cut this girl some slack, people. I mean, like, say for instance, I'm an electrician, and yeah, here I go. I'm going to be comparing electrical work to Olympic work. But sports can be dangerous, okay? Same with my job, it can be dangerous. So let's put in a scenario here. Say that I have a very high stress situation where I have to, for whatever reason, work on live equipment, obviously with all the safety gear and everything, but work on high voltage, high amperage equipment live. Say I found out that I had, say a family member had passed away. My work would instantly not put me in that situation. They would say, go home, be with your family. They would not say, oh no, we kind of need this to happen, because they know that how dangerous that would be if I'm not there mentally to work on that equipment. So why do we put that same sort of pressure on sports? That's what they are. They are sports. They're entertainment. That's what category they fall in. Simone had mentioned that, we're not just entertainers, we're humans too. So she took a proactive approach at taking her mental health into her hands and taking a step back rather than performing. And she had mentioned in an interview that when she was doing some of her spins and twists and flips in the air, which is not her words, that's my words, but she would blank out and she would not realize where she was at in the air. That could be dangerous. I mean, if she could land on her neck and break it, and that could be like a lifelong, if not fatal, injury. So she definitely took a proactive stance there to back out, and I think it was the right decision. And I know some would probably argue with that. But let's see here. What we could learn from Simone Biles is that, yes, mental health is very important. I think there's going to be a huge, even larger movement than there is already for mental health and taking care of it. Sports are not greater than a person's health. People can really show their true colors when things don't go their way. If this would have happened many years ago, when I was in my teens or early 20s and I was still bitter about not being able to play college sports, and I would have seen a professional athlete or Olympic athlete back out like this, I would have been one of those people that probably would have been upset, because it's like, you know what, I felt like I trained harder than everybody, and they have so much God-given talent and everything that, now they're just going to throw it away. And there's people like me that would have done anything to be there. Well, now that I'm older and have a different perspective on life, and realize that, no, I wouldn't have done anything, because I didn't do everything there was possible to become that collegiate, professional, Olympic athlete. So, yeah. There have been many other athletes that have retired early because of their health. They wanted to make sure that their injuries from their sports that didn't affect them lifelong. A lot of them are kind of going to be from football, because football is a sport that there's been a lot of new research out that has discovered that repetitive blows to the head could cause brain damage in the form of CTE, which is a lifelong injury, and players really struggle with it. So some of these are going to be football players. Calvin Johnson with the Lions, known as Megatron. Andrew Luck with the Colts specifically said that he was retiring early to focus on his health and everything. Doug Baldwin with the Seahawks, Bo Jackson with football and baseball, and Yao Ming with the Houston Rockets of basketball. I mean, they retired young, as far as like early 30s or late 20s, when people thought they were just starting to become in their prime. That's not a hint that like Simone Biles is retiring. I think she did mention something about that she was going to retire after this Olympics, and then of course it got pushed back a year. So that was probably another pressure on her that she was ready to be done after the Olympics, and then she had to train for a whole another year, super hard. But I feel like we often get caught up in our sports heroes that we forget that they are humans, and once someone replaces them, they can be forgotten. Some, yes, will go on to the Hall of Fame. Some will find success in other fields of work and stay in the spotlight. But there's a lot of people that are professional athletes that you might once cheered for that you might have forgotten about. And that's a part that can be kind of scary for an athlete, especially if they put their whole identity into that one specific skill that they have. I got some scripture for you guys today from the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 10. Therefore, whenever we have the opportunity, we should do good to everyone, especially those in the family of faith. So, there you have it. We never know what's going on in another person's head. We don't know what it's like to walk in another person's shoes. So therefore, let's just do good to everybody and just try to do better. That's what I had for you guys today. Thanks for bearing with me and my nasally voice today. But I hope you guys have a great week, and until next time, I'm the West Dakota Dad. Thanks for listening.